Okay, here's my why. And Amy knows me. We go to church together, and I love her so much. But here's my why. Would your students show up if they didn't have to? And you know what? We really got to ask that question and really know the results in 2020. Did they show up if they didn't have to? Because in some cases, we thought they had to, but they didn't, and they didn't show up. And if you think of it this way, if you could sell tickets to your classroom, would you sell any? Okay. I have 2 children. They are wild. They're so good, but they are wild, and they would not survive in the school that I grew up in. It was very good for the time, but they're different now. And the only constant is change. And we have to prepare them for the unknown future, but we also have to keep those little boogers engaged. And when I plan a classroom or plan a module, I always think, how would my children react to this? How would they do? And they're very different. They're very different. So I always keep them in mind. And one of the greatest gifts that I've had is being able to teach them. Because if you ever get to teach your own children, you should. Because you can really reflect on what is a bust and what is not when you have your own kids, because you know them, they know you, and they're very honest. They're more honest than the other ones. So Dave Burgess said that in Teach Like a Pirate. It's one of my favorite books. I've read it several times. I've heard him speak. Such a great motivator. Today, share the good news. I used to be on Twitter just for conferences, and I would go on there and go, someone would say, tweet a reflection of something that you've learned today. And I would be like, okay, what's my Twitter? What's my Twitter password? Let me get my notebook with my Twitter password. Wrong password, forgot my notebook, set up it. So it was kind of like a perpetual, I only got on here during conferences. But now I use it for speed PD. If I want to know how teachers are using are teaching fractions with digital tools, I can look that up on Twitter and get really good stuff really quick. Okay. It's not like on Teachers Pay Teachers, you can look up some stuff and you might get some garbage. It's not Twitter. I don't feel like is filled with as much garbage when it comes to education. It's got some really good curated pictures of exactly what's going on. But then also you might be in my session missing another session. You might want to know what's going on, and they might be in another session wishing they were in mine. So tweet about what's going on, and then use the hashtag NCBOLD or NCDTL and take it from there, and then use that as a search tool later on to see what everyone else is doing. Let's say that you're doing, you want to teach World Lit, 5th grade World Lit, or that's American Lit, 5th grade American Lit. Look up hashtag 5th grade social studies in North Carolina, and you will find so many great things that teachers are currently doing right now. Well, not right now because we're all on break because we're tired. Okay. But, later, see what's going on, see how it's doing. And if you tweet anything about today, tag me so I can see what's working and what's not working, and, share good stuff too. All right. Here's an open-ended question. Go ahead and let's see what your answers are. What's the question? I don't see the question. Oh, here we go. We're going to, oh no, it didn't work. Okay, we're not going to draw because it didn't, I'm using this was another presentation and I copied it into my other presentation, and it's not going to let us draw because it saw it as a picture and not the actual Nearpod presentation. So we're going to switch gears real quick because good teachers do that. And we're going to hop on, I'm going to give you a different code. I apologize. That is a major flop that I have not experienced before. But I'm going to give you a different code, and we're just going to go from there because we're at that point where we can just move on. So I'm going to give you a different code for Nearpod. So exit out of that one. Gosh, that's embarrassing. Amy, don't tell anybody about that one. Dang. We'll just leave it and resume it. This is good to know because I'm doing this again tomorrow. Okay, so let me find this code. Where? I have too many Nearpods. You know what? We're just going to do this. We're just going to go to the old-fashioned, not Nearpod, because I do not have time. We do not have time. Your time is more valuable. So I'm going to share my tab, and I'm just going to share the actual presentation with you, and it's just not going to be a Nearpod, but I'll give you a free Nearpod code. How about that? For later for you to try it out. Skip. Okay, on a scale from David to David, how are you feeling today? On a scale from David to David, I am at a 2. That's where I am right now. I'm at a 2 after my Nearpod flub today from copying from another presentation. So I'm at a 2. Hopefully you are laughing at me and it bumps you up greater than a 2. You should always connect with your people before exposing content. So even if it's like kids love emojis, kids love dog faces, cat memes, you can pull any of those things together and just say, how are you feeling today? And when you put the table on them and give them that little voice, you are giving them the opportunity to acknowledge that they are loved and that they are valued. So you are loved, you are valued, and you guys, you know what? You're doing better than a 2, so that's really good. All right. So teachers are more than assignment givers. That's something that I really had to harp on with our virtual teaching situation of, you know what? You have that Google Classroom, you have that Seesaw, you have that Canvas, but it's more, you are more than an assignment giver. Okay, it's so easy to go on there now and look at assignments and say, oh, I want them to do this, this, and this. But if it doesn't include actual teaching and it doesn't include, in fact, actual feedback in that great feedback cycle, it is not going to be authentic, rich learning experiences for kids. And I mean, besides, they're with you way more than they are with anybody else. So the more that you can do to build those relationships and get them engaged and interacting, the better it's going to be for everyone. Okay, we're looking at the North Carolina Digital Learning Competencies and the ISTE standards. So I'm an ITF in my school, and so many times people say, oh, what about this program or what about this program? And they're so like proud to bring it to me because they're like, oh, Marsha's the technology person. She's going to love this, not because of what it is, but because it's technology. But not everything technology is great for children, okay? Let me repeat. Not everything that is technology is great for children. Also, programs do not fix children, okay? Good teaching helps them, and their hard work helps them. But programs do not fix problems. Programs are never the answer. People are always the answer, okay? But right here are these digital learning competencies. And when I look at how to grow myself, I look at these digital learning competencies. They're going to be linked in your presentation. I also look at the ISTE standards for students. So look at that and think about, look at those ISTE standards for students and think about your current classroom. You think, how are those with technology? So open your mics up for a second. I'm going to pull up this video that you were supposed to see. And I want you to just talk about, like, how do those apply to motivation and interaction? Turn your mic off now. We're all family now. You've seen my flubs. All right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to share this different tab right here. Let's see, stop presenting. We're going to go over to this tab. And this is a great video. And I could sit here and talk about the ISTE standards for students forever, but it wouldn't do this justice.
Shout out to all my 21st century learners out there. You know how we do it. You know how Let's go. Let's go. Yo, number one, I'm an MCAL learner. I set goals and pursue them with fervor. My learning is up to me, it's not passive. My brain learns best when I am digitally proactive. Number two, I'm a digital citizen. I stay safe on all the sites that I'm visiting. I use technology to make a difference. With power comes responsibility. You digging it? I'm a knowledge constructor. Number three, I carefully select and evaluate what I read. Curate media also brilliantly, and I think critically about source validity. Four, I'm an innovative designer. That means I solve problems, major and minor. Start with empathy, ideate and prototype. Test and iterate, that method is so nice. I'm a computational thinker. Five, improving any process that I can find. Writing algorithms and testing in data. Analyzing to find the trends in the data. I'm a creative communicator, that's six. Like I put this in a rap song to make this stick. I could use different media or tools like infographics to get my point through. Seven, I'm a global collaborator. I might connect with students way over the equator. Digital tech makes the dream come true. Had a virtual field trip with a kid in Peru. That's seven ways that I can be a lifelong learner in the 21st century. What kind of student do I want to be? It's my path, that's up to me. That's seven ways that I can be a lifelong learner in the 21st century. What kind of student do I want to be? It's my path, that's up to me. That's up to me.
I told you. Told you I couldn't explain it any better than that. What are your thoughts about the ISTE standards for students? I'll tell you what I think. I always think when I see that, I need to step it up. That's what I think. I need to step it up when I see that. So engage all of those kids. Did you see any of those kids acting out? Did you see any of them looking like screen zombies? I didn't. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is a game that I created in Slides Mania. And it is a template. I'm giving you my actual game because I want you to see what it looks like in its true format. But this is a game that I created in Slides Mania. I also make it to where kids can create their own games, but Slides Mania has awesome interactive templates that you can take and put your own content in. And this one is, I did this for economics. It has a little video after you open up the link, has a little video in the middle, but that's not really a video, it's a dice. That's how you roll your dice. And you have your pawns at the top. And you can go through and look at when you click on the number 1, it takes you to the number 1 card. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to just look at that game right there. and see how I've applied it with economics. You can't mess this up. I already have another copy, so feel free to move things around. But this lady in Spain, she is the creator of Slides Mania, and this is what she does for fun. She is not a teacher. She takes Google Slides in PowerPoint and she turns them into she started out just making templates for just presentations, and then she got a lot of feedback from the educational world. She was like, ooh, let's make games. There's Jeopardy games, there's board games, all kinds. Everybody likes a game. And so what she has done is this board game right here. But she doesn't make any money off of it. And one thing that she does ask, I'd listened to her on a podcast with Matt Miller. One thing that she does ask is that you don't try to sell her stuff or make money from her stuff. So, I mean, it's just honest fun that she has. She makes money off of it now because she has ads on her site. But if you look and click on the number 1, the activity 1 card comes up, and this is just a vocabulary situation. And you can click the back and it'll give you the answer. The really neat part about this is it incorporates some of the things that make children very successful in life. Vocabulary is one of the top 3 indicators. I'm not sure if it's 1, 2, or 3 now, but it's one of the top indicators for success in life. Vocabulary, working memory, and algebraic understanding. Those are the 3 in no particular order. So this is a way for you to get the practice with some of that rich vocabulary that you're expected to teach them in this school year. You can put any kind of content on here. Last year, I gave the children the template and they made their own games and then invited teams to come and play with them for a review activity. So there's so much that you can do. And I encourage you to take some time, not right now, but a little later, to go on Slides Mania and take a look at what she has. She's an incredible, incredible person. And really what this is that we don't want to, say, but it is a protocol. All that is a protocol. Protocol is a framework that, it's a framework that you can insert your content in. So you don't have, it's really great because you can take that framework and use it over and over and over again. And you don't have to go through and explain the rules. You don't have to explain what to do. They already know what to do. You're just putting your content in. So you could use that game framework, that game protocol, and use it for your math, use it for your social studies, use it for social emotional stuff. You can have them make their own. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. I used to work at Bogue Sound Elementary School, and we went through the first school project, which is with the Frank Porter Graham Institute. And we had a person in our classroom that came 3 times a year, and they followed 3 random children. We had no idea who they were following. And those children, they documented everything that they did. How much time did they spend working on their independently? How much time did they spend collaborating with peers? How much time did they work on information that was scaffolded? How much time did they spend in centers? How much time did they spend in transitions? And that one hurt my feelings. Transitions hurt my feelings because I found the first time that my children were spending a lot of time in transitions, either getting instructions or moving from place to place or lining up to go to the bathroom, all sorts of things. Those transitions were a succubus of my time. So protocols is a way for you to kind of cut some of that transition time and give them some great content to where everyone's involved, and it's not a worksheet, but they know exactly what to do. Here is the protocols website, and I'm going to put in the chat, I'm going to give you that link in the chat so that you can look at the list. Let's see. to find it since it's not in my presentation anymore as a link. But that's from the School Reform Initiative. So I'm going to give you that site and let you go there. The School Reform Initiative, and just take a couple of minutes, go there and kind of look at their protocols that they have. And some of them you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you are going to look at it and go, I've been doing this for years. Of course you've been doing this for years. Good teachers do this. It just has a name that you might not be familiar with. So in the chat is the School Reform Initiative website, and it has a whole list of protocols. And it's just a good framework. There's also a book that I really like called EDU Protocols, and it's by Marlena Hebert, and she is amazing. And she and her partner, they've written 3 EDU protocol books because there's so many good ones, and it walks you through how to use them, how to start off with protocols if your class isn't used to them. And what I really love about these is it's not complicated, and you can start off with one and get your kids really used to it, and then introduce another one. And the next thing you know, you have like a really good bag of protocols. Okay. And to them, it looks like a game, or it looks like your best workshop that you've been to. They're filled with protocols and you didn't even realize it. Okay, so this is a video that I'm going to share with you. Let's see. About how I use Nearpod. I'm going to share this in Nearpod. This is how I use Nearpod with my children. And this is this particular presentation. I found it. I like to use Nearpod for interaction and engagement, and I like to take things to the next level with them. As a technology facilitator, I teach everything that you guys teach, but I just do it not necessarily in a different way, but I try to just level it up from what I would have typically taught if I was in the classroom. So this is a little video in Nearpod that I made from my phone because it was on my Nearpod experience. But this is what I did for my kids. What do you like to read books about? And then this is just for Read Across America. So instead of just reading a Dr. Seuss book, what do you like to read books about? Do you like to read books? Yes. It gives them an opportunity to answer a question. And then we read a book about hats. So I'm going to progress to right here again. This was a great book about hats, and it was recommended by NCAE. And then we visited a hat store in Germany. And that was with a VR experience using the Nearpod platform. And I'm so sorry that you're not getting to experience this the way I had originally planned, because I cut a little corner. But then they took their little VR experience. They had 2 shops. One was in Germany, and then so this is the first one, and it's like more of a traditional hat shop. And then this one right here, I can't remember where this one is, forgive me, but this was all straw hats. So this was a straw hat museum, actually. So we talked about the difference between a store and a museum, and we talked about why you would need different types of hats and what type of hat would you like. And they just really loved visiting different places. And then after that, I picked out I did like a Google search of different hats, and they were to look at those some more and think about, what kind of hat would we wear today? What kind of hat would your mom like? What kind of hat would your dad like? And then they went and made their own hats and designed their own hats for a hat parade, because that was the theme for NCAE this year for Read Across America, was reading hat parade. So it was more than just sitting down and reading a book with them. It was taking them beyond the classroom. And Nearpod is a really great way to do that. And again, I'm sorry that you aren't getting the same experience as you would have gotten at another time. I'm all over the place with these slides over here. Let's see. So we've done protocols, we've done games, we've done virtual field trips. With Nearpod, you can take virtual field trips, but let's say that you don't have the money for Nearpod because it's so expensive. You can use EarthCam. EarthCam is a great way to see the world in a virtual way and just give kids that time to break out of where they are. So Amy and I live in coastal North Carolina, and that some of them have never been to the mountains. I remember when I lived in Ashe County, we went to the zoo, and I remember driving through on the bus through Winston-Salem, and they were like, "Oh, is this New York City?" They thought it was the most amazing thing that they had ever seen as we drove down Highway 421 through Winston-Salem. So anytime you can give them an experience to see outside of what their norm is, you are giving them a sense of wonder. And if you can capture that sense of wonder and infuse your curriculum in with it, then you have captured them. Master educators are master learners, and we teach our children master learners. As I use Nearpod with a lot of things, I wanted to just share with you some of the features that they have, and I am going to give you a code so you can try it out for free for a few months. It's one of those things where it has a level of freeness, just if you were to just go on nearpod.com and try some stuff. But then there's also like the next level and the next level and the next level. We have a site license at White Oak. I really worked hard to get that and had to really collect a lot of data to show how it was wonderful and why we should keep it. But these are some things that I use a lot with Nearpod. Collaborate boards, which is like a Padlet. Draw it, where, like, say with your David to David, instead of giving me a number, you could just circle David. Virtual field trips, going to the hat shop on the other side of the world. When we, for St. Patrick's Day, we visited Ireland because, we are near Emerald Isle, here at the Crystal Coast. So I showed them the Emerald Isle in Ireland, and their beach looks completely different than our beach. It's just like a huge rock and drop off and cliff. So they got to experience what the beach looks like in different places. And then we talked about castles and cathedrals and how, we don't really have any castles around here, and got to visit castles in Ireland and cathedrals. And they didn't know what a cathedral was. So getting to experience that. And we looked at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Those were really meaningful times that I think my children are probably never going to forget. But it also gave them that sense of, I want to go there one day. I want to see that. When can we go? I said, get a good job. That's all I have to say. You experience the ISTE standards with Flocabulary, and Flocabulary is integrated with it. Flipgrid, a lot of things that we tend to go outside to get, a lot of things to engage children. It's all in one place here, which is really neat. Also, there's, you guys might use Kahoot. Time to Climb is in there, and it is so fun. So, but we do have EarthCam, and it is wonderful too. They have lots of web content. I'm going to go to EarthCam. I'm going to give you a code, I'll give you the site for EarthCam, and then let you guys just explore there for a second and really see what that virtual field trip could look like. And the neat thing about EarthCam is that it has like real time stuff that you can go to. That's really awesome. So in the chat is earthcam.com. Go there and just spend a couple of minutes and see what you can see. One of my favorite things to do is just to relate it to a book. Like there's always a book that can take us places. For Easter, we read Rashinka's Eggs, and then we visited St. Basil's Cathedral. And they thought it looked like it wasn't real, like a candy castle. And as you look, you can turn your mic off and share some ideas of how you could use a virtual field trip. I like to use them when I have staff meetings or school improvement team meetings. I like to take them to the beach for a little bit. I'm like, okay, we have spent a lot of time crunching these numbers and sounding out. Let's take a minute and go to the beach. How about your kids? You've worked so hard today. Before we go and begin this, let's take a beach break and go to the beach. Turn on some music.
Well, for my kids, I work with special needs students. And some of those concepts are very hard for them to understand unless they get either hands-on or a picture in their brain of what it actually looks like. And so I'm forever pulling pictures up on Google or something, so videos or something to show them the concepts that we're talking about, so they have a picture in their head of what we're discussing. So virtual field trips would definitely be something that would be good for them, where they could actually see what you're talking about. I know we read something about the Northern Lights, and so I actually pulled up videos of the Northern Lights so that they could see what that concept meant, because just hearing about it means nothing to them.
Right. That we forget how abstract words are.
I used them at the end of the school year for our 10-day countdown to first grade. We pulled in like a bubblegum day. So we went and we visited the factory that made bubblegum. We ate bubblegum. We turned it into a writing example, our writing prompt. We did the same with a bakery, a pretzel shop, anything that we could have a snack, write about, eat. And the kids enjoyed it for our countdown to first grade. It was nice taking virtual field trips.
I love it.
That's cool.
I love it. We used to have a bubblegum blowing contest and then measure them. And that was hard, but it was fun. One of my favorite second grade things that we did was at the end of the year, when everyone else is testing and you're like, what am I going to do with these children? We had, I wonder, and everything that we're talking about today, I want you to create that sense of wonder. And our kids are like, I wonder, how tall am I going to be next year? How tall am I going to be when I'm in 5th grade? So we took and we measured every kid in the school. And we averaged that. We made up an average 2nd grader is this. An average 3rd grader is this. Average 4th and 5th. And then we built average 2nd graders, 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 5th graders. And then we had to go to kindergarten first because they wanted one of themselves too in the hallway. And they went and, compared themselves. And then we found out that the average child grows 2.5 inches a year. Those real, authentic, I'm not sitting in my room doing a packet. situations are the things that they're going to remember and they're really going to learn more from. But I don't need to tell you guys that. You already know. So we got a new Google tool this past year called Jamboard. Has anyone used it?
No.
It is wonderful. If you are a Google district, it is really great. It's kind of like, it is like Google Slides, but not as many options, which sometimes, with children, the options can get really, really daunting because they get a little overstimulated. So I'm going to share with you Jamboard. Let's see. I'm going to go to Jamboard over here. I'm going to share this one with you. This is what we did during Black History Month. We studied Ruby Bridges. Let's see. Hello, Jamboard. Okay. So with this Jamboard, we looked at, I like to study children with children because they can identify with them. And we read a story about Ruby Bridges, and the children are able to go in here and they put Post-it notes in. You can just pick a Post-it note and you just drop it in there. So there's my Post-it note. And you can change the color if you need to. It's great for organizing thoughts. So we took Ruby Bridges, and then we took Sharon Langley from A Ride to Remember. And A Ride to Remember is about Sharon Langley in Washington, D.C. There's a carousel. Has anyone ever ridden the carousel in Washington, D.C.? Well, on that carousel, there is one horse that has the name Sharon Langley, and she was the first African American to notably ride a carousel in the United States, because during her time they were not allowed. And NCAE had a live interview with Sharon Langley. So for my children to hear that she is still alive really kind of put in perspective that segregation really wasn't that long ago. And that was really neat for them. And some of my children, we live in a military town. Some of our children had ridden that carousel before. But for those who hadn't, of course, we took a virtual field trip and looked at the actual carousel. But then you could also go through after Sharon and Ruby Bridges, and then you can make one right here and talk about what do they have, what's similar, what's different about them. Mm-hmm. There's so many different things, but I really do like this for kids because there's not as many options. One thing that I don't appreciate about Jamboard is, in Google Slides, you can tell who does the thing. And by the thing, you know what I mean? Like delete something. You can't tell that in Google Slides yet, but that may fix. It may fix itself over time. Google's really good about that. Clicking back over here. So I love Jamboard. Love it. Okay, so this right here is a video that my children made in BrainPop. So I'm going to talk to you about that while I try to get that pulled up for you. But this is a video made in BrainPop. And if you look at it, it looks similar. I've copied and pasted a picture of what the design process looks like. But do you guys have a subscription to BrainPop? Just say yes or no, because I'm not looking at you right now. No. This is one of the best things to happen to education since Seesaw. Well, Seesaw was there first, I guess. But BrainPop is has really leveled up. And I was going to get rid of Brain Pop because, you know, we have YouTube now and we have so many different things that kids can use to get information that's video oriented. And I was just like, y'all are expensive. And I went to the NC Ties conference, and at the NC Ties conference, you know, you go to the all the booths that everybody has. And there's a Nearpod one, and I was like the girlfriend trying to stay away from the boyfriend, and I kind of like shielded my face and was like, I can't look at you in the eye right now. And they're like, do you want a pen? And I was like, no, I don't want your pen with Moby on it. And they're like, what is wrong with this lady? So I said, you know, you're just a video platform. I can see videos anywhere. Why do I need Brain Pop? And they said, well, did you know that you can make movies with Brain Pop? And I was like, no, I did not know that you can make movies with Brain Pop. Did you know that you can make thinking maps with Brain Pop? No, I did not know that you can make thinking maps with Brain Pop. I learned so much that Brain Pop had as part of their platform, but because I didn't have the district access, they gave us, not the district, but our school access, we just had like a generic code. But the person in charge of our Brain Pop didn't know that either. She didn't know that she could give us each our own access. And when she did that, it opened up all types of avenues. But look at this video. This is amazing. And my children made this.
There's a lot of weird people, so don't share anything with people online. Treat people the way you want to be treated on and offline, and do not share information with people you don't trust. I hope this helped John.
So you didn't really see the beginning of that, but you saw part of the video, and it's in true Brain Pop fashion, where it opens up with a letter, and then with the letter, the video answers the question, which is really nice. So if you look at this window that we just had up, the Make a Movie window, that very first tab, just kind of like a Google, just kind of like your slide deck, it just runs across instead of down. That's where you start with your letter, and you have your students answer the letter with the video, and they can preview it and really go through that problem-solving process to make their video better and better. They can add backgrounds. Where it says search Brain Pop images, that is where they can just search different pictures. Like they can search up pictures of Moby or kids working, or let's say that you're doing a chemistry unit. You can start, you see where it says online safety, I can start my movie with chemistry in mind, and it'll have a set bank of chemistry related images in Brain Pop already, which is really neat. And then they can send it straight to me as a teacher, and I can share it out. One of the really enticing pieces for this that I like to share with you guys is sometimes when you're doing really fun and engaging and motivating things, sometimes that opens up some scary stuff. And when you're making videos with kids, that can open up some scary situations because you don't know what they're searching online to put in their video. But in Brain Pop, you're not going to see any private parts. In Brain Pop, you're not going to see anything that's inappropriate for kids. It's all going to be okay. And they can't just easily lose it because it's in the platform. You can't just erase it. It's there. So that is one of the those are really neat pieces to it. And kids really like making movies. How many of you have cubbies in your room or locker areas? No. If you have, so you can, on this one, it had the robot, but you can also, they can record their voices, so they can work on their oral language development, which is another major indicator for success in life, if you can speak to others and be understood. So giving them that practice. with this platform right here, which is easy. I have my first graders making movies. Okay, just to clarify, I have first through fifth grade making movies. So you can take a box and put the Chromebook or the iPad in the box, and that makes a sound booth to where they don't get everybody else's sounds at the same time. Also, you can, let a couple go out in the hallway. I like to use the cubbies. If you have cubbies built into your walls or in shelves already, those make great sound booths for video production, whether you're using Brain Pop or anything really. But we really, a quiet classroom is one that you should be afraid of, because kids need to be speaking. Whoever's doing the speaking is doing the learning. So this is a great avenue for them to use their voice to show that content knowledge. Another one of my favorite platforms, there's so many things that are great about this, but Flipgrid. Did anybody use Flipgrid during the pandemic to record with?
I did.
Yeah. This right here is I'm going to give this to you in the chat, but this is Flipgrid Discovery Partners, and it's just like an unknown little hidden gem within Flipgrid, and this is just another way to connect your content and give them an opportunity for voice. I'm going to share this with you right now, though. So in Flipgrid, with these discovery partners, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes my teachers with Flipgrid, they would be like, well, I don't really know what to give them to talk about. Well, this right here is a great step to help you go in the right direction. So let's say that you're studying animal habitats. There's tons in here. You've got the orca stuff. You have the Joshua Tree National Park. I think there's some elephant stuff, the elephant sanctuary. So if you click on the elephant sanctuary, here is the Flipgrid. Here are the topics, and you can click on the topics about the elephant sanctuary, and you can add this topic to your board. So it puts all the instructions and everything in there in your Flipgrid for you, which is really neat. Now, do you notice this little guy right here in the bottom? Does anybody know what that is? Oh, it says right there. That's the immersive reader. And if you have children, I know, Amy, you have special ed children, your teachers need to be using the immersive reader. The immersive reader really helps level the playing field. So with the immersive reader, I'm going to click this. And so it will read the entire passage for them, because that was a lot of words. Okay, let's say that they don't know this word. You can just click on this one. It gives you an image to go with it, and
Intelligent.
it will say it for you, which is a game changer. Okay, it lets you see it, it lets you hear it, and you actually see the word itself. Also, if you have Spanish speaking children or any other language, you can translate it to something completely different. And there are hundreds of languages here to where it can completely translate it. An immersive reader is not exclusive to Flipgrid. It can be used on many different platforms. But that little symbol right there that I showed you earlier, that is a universal symbol for immersive reader. So we'll look again right here. It is also used in Nearpod. So if you are using my trial in Nearpod, you'll see that on the student end. And that way they can really spend some time with the words that you're giving them. And you don't have to be right there on top of them to help get them through that, which is really neat.
The one thing that I liked about it is, say that you liked this video, but the directions on it or the grade level on it was higher than your kids or higher than your level. The directions might ask them to write something or talk about something or whatever else. You can change that. And so like for my kids who are all high school special needs kids, I would make one really simple question, like,
Mm-hmm.
where did the elephants live? Or,
Mm-hmm.
how many elephants were in the video, or something like that. Something very simple that then they could record themselves answering the question. So you can put it on a pre-K level all the way up to a college level, and you could gear it to what your kids needed or what your kids are able to do.
Mm-hmm. Those are all great tips. Yeah, anytime you add a topic to your Flipgrid, you can just hit the little pencil to edit it and change it to whatever you want it to be. These partnerships are priceless, and you don't have to pay for any extra subscriptions or anything like that. Flipgrid is owned by Microsoft, but it does integrate with Google too. It plays nice with everybody, and I really love that. But I also love it because you guys have so much to do that you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time to make things fun for kids. Something that children love are breakout rooms, and my children love these. And they change these over time too. But this one, the Gigi's Garden. So this is kind of like, for those of you who haven't had any experience with breakout rooms, it's kind of like what do they call those where you go into a room and you have to get yourself unlocked? What are those called? Do y'all remember?
Escape rooms?
Escape rooms, yes. It's like a digital escape room. So you will go through here and play Gigi's Garden. And with Gigi's Garden, here are your 4 locks. So you don't have to make this. You can make this, and if you want to learn how to make your own breakout rooms, shoot me an email, and I'll be sharing that a little later. But I can help you make breakout rooms too that have your content in it. Again, another just a protocol, but it's just a way to make it a little fun for you. So here's the main challenge. And then with each lock, you have a situation. I wonder what all these flowers are. Gigi said the tulip is the tallest and lily is taller than the daisy. So then you have to, here's your clue right here. You have to figure out what colors go where. And then I can't remember if I know this one or not in my head. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. I can't remember what it is. But kids love that. They love that element of mystery when you offer them, and they will read anything that you put in front of them if it has a clue in it. It's the greatest trick in education, I do believe. Give them a mystery and they will solve it. Have any of you guys ever used breakout rooms before?
No.
Oh, they're so fun. They're so fun, and kids love them. And they don't even need a prize. Just the satisfaction of knowing that they accomplished it is just like a big deal. And they work for all grade levels. They're so good. So check out, Wonderopolis is another one of my favorite ones. It has like the daily wonder of the day. So good. This is a little recap of Breakout EDU, which I love. Also with Breakout EDU, there's its own program. So those are all partnerships with Flipgrid, but Breakout is also its own company. So they have freebies on there as well that you can go on breakoutedu.com, and you can get actual lessons that you can use with your students. They also have paid for ones. But again, I make them using Google for learning. I use Google Forms and Google Sites to make them. And once you've made one, you can just copy and paste it to make new ones, like with most things Google, except for this one presentation that I got going on today. But kids love it, and it really inspires them to do whatever it takes. There's an ESL library in there. We have a a good sized population of ESL students in our district, and this gives you just another piece to help them practice their language and practice our language and understand our language. Here are some breakouts that I've made using Google Sites, and I'll go and share those with you just so you can see how simple they are. Let's see. Okay, so for Google Sites, I build mine all in Google Sites, and then that's what I share with the students. So this one is really fun. I'll share the tab with you. So this one was a Thanksgiving when it was breaking out the turkey. And this is the design piece. So I put a read about his story here and help him as everyone gets ready for Thanksgiving. So we have to look at the weather. I believe this one was for second grade. We have to look at the weather. We have some subtraction, and I've put some clues in there by circling specific ones. And then another read about the first Thanksgiving to hear how Native Americans helped the Pilgrims. And then they put the answers here in this Google form. And I have set the answers in the Google form to where if it's not right, it gives them that immediate feedback and also gives them a clue. So if I put the wrong thing in, it'll say, sorry, that's not right. And it might say, how's the weather today? To give them a clue to, oh, for that I need to look at this. And I just share the website with them. This is what it looks like in edit mode. We've done them I've had like economics breakouts. Just a way to bring it together, to bring those thoughts together. You can also go to your local hardware store and get locks and toolboxes. And with the locks and toolboxes, you can put clues around your room and use materials that are already in your room and create those clues for them, which is really neat. Any questions about breakout rooms or breakout EDU? Kids love it. All right, so the smartest person in the room is the room. It's not a particular person. I'm not the smartest person in the room by any means. You all have your wealth of knowledge and funds of knowledge, but I get a lot of my information and tips and tricks. There's Stacy. She gave you your last presentation, guys. Some of you. These are people that I follow on Twitter. And when I have questions about things, these are people I seek answers from. Our county would not have gotten through the pandemic if it were not for Matt Miller. He's amazing and offers so many free templates and ideas. He's such a positive force for good. He's so good. George Couros is one of my favorite authors. He's so inspiring. He wrote the book Innovate Inside the Box because we like to think outside of the box, but within the school we have parameters of different funding, and we have issues with that's my dog. We have issues with different rules and regulations that we can't ignore. But that book, Innovate Inside the Box, is a way to, okay, you've got all these rules, regulations, and mandates. How do you still keep an innovative classroom in that situation? But Christina Pinto, she is a kindergarten teacher. She spoke at the technology conference. I guess 3 years ago. And at the time, she had been teaching for 3 years. And so we have to remember that sometimes, like in the room, we have people who are younger that have some great things that they can share and insights that they can share. Dee Lanier is in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is such a great advocate for just equitable experiences for children in our classrooms these days. And he's really helped me see things through a different lens. And I love what he posts on Twitter. I love learning from him. He was a keynote at a conference a couple years ago I went to, and I keep learning from him. But find people in your building that you can learn from and get those engagement ideas. But also look elsewhere too, because you have things to share with them and they have things that you can learn from. Carrie Robledo, she is a younger teacher you can see here in North Carolina, and she is always sharing great STEM lessons. Her and Kim Colazzo, they're best friends, and they're always sharing really great ideas on Twitter that I want to be them. I want to be them when I grow up. If you use Seesaw regularly, Chris, I do not know how to say his last name, but this little guy with the white tie, he was, at the time that I snapped this picture, he was a teacher. Now he actually works for Seesaw because he was so innovative in providing so many resources and tutorials for teachers that use Seesaw. He's so good. Eric Kurtz does lots with Google. He also has one of those great podcast voice that just calms you down when you hear him talk. So if you want like a non-stressful PD experience, look him up on Twitter. He's always posting how-to videos on how to do different things. Also, he has like a stress management session that he has on his website that just tells you how to like sift through the noise of life and education and really get with yourself, and gives you like some fun little tips, like make your passwords positive, like a sentence of I am going to have a great day. Make that your password. It's long enough. And instead of today, put today and an exclamation mark, and that's your sentence. I mean, how great is that every time you type that password in, you have to say, I'm going to have a great day today. You know, that affirmation. Marlo Artis is the guy in the red, and he's the Tar Heel teacher. He does a daily podcast of what's happening in North Carolina. So he kind of gives us like a pulse of education, North Carolina news. But then he also has a weekly podcast where he features teachers from all over and superintendents from all over, and just talks about the challenges that we have and the successes. And he just makes the positives so loud that you can't hear the negatives. But most of the people on this sheet are great champions here in North Carolina. And every single one of them, except for Pinto Beans, I want to be her, I have met and had conversations with. So they're all very human and wonderful. So I just encourage you to follow these guys on Twitter. You'll have the presentation in Nice's that you can go back and revisit too. How many of you have used Go Open?
No.
It's okay to hear crickets. Like, you're not dumb if you don't use Go Open. But Go Open is, sometimes things get noise that shouldn't get the noise. Like, Teachers Pay Teachers has its value, but it also has some garbage in it. And our state really wanted a way for teachers to share what they have and districts to share what they have without everybody reinventing the wheel all the time. So Go Open is available to you. It's in your Rapid Identity, and you can post lessons on here, but you can also grab lessons from other people and other districts and make them your own. Copyright is not a teacher's best friend, but Go Open honors copyright. And when you pick something to share and use, it does everything for you that you need to do to give all the attribution to who it goes to. And it also allows you to post things and get credit for your great ideas. It's one of those platforms that our state pumped a bunch of time and a bunch of money into, and then Hurricane Florence hit. And then they kind of picked up the momentum a little bit and worked on it some more, and then COVID hit. And so now we're really working on just getting this word out here that Go Open is there, and it's a resource for you to share and collaborate, and it's exclusive to North Carolina. It's tied to our standards, and it also allows for you to go in and review other people's stuff. So like if you think something's not quite right, you can put a review on there. Or if you think something's excellent, you can put a review on there. If you like something but you want to change it, kind of like what Amy was saying, you can do what they call remixing and remix a lesson. And then it'll put your remix available for those who want to use your version. And it still gives the original author credit, which is really neat. So I'm not going to ask you to go on there right now because you have to go in through your Rapid Identity, and sometimes that's a beast. It is for me because I have 3-factor authentication. But it's a really good platform, and I want to see it succeed. I love reading about my profession. I love learning about how to do better. And you see those 2 books, EDU Protocol, those are books that I referred to earlier. I have them. I've lent them out. I bookmark them. I've got Post-it notes in them. They're nasty now, okay? I mentioned Innovate Inside the Box. It's a great one. Control, Alt, Achieve. That was written by Eric Kurtz, who was the bearded guy in the last slide of all the people in the corner. He does some really good stuff with Google in this book. EDU Educational Exam. That is written by Alicia Ray, who is a media coordinator here in North Carolina in Surrey County. And she talks about, just evaluating ourselves. And this is just like a refreshing book about being an educator and challenges that we face and how to, keep moving forward. Tech Like a Pirate. I loan that out all the time. And the Distance Learning Playbook is a new favorite. I led a PD with some of our district staff this year on this, and it was written right in the middle of the pandemic, but I love how it acknowledges that we cannot go back to where we were before the pandemic. We have to take that as a learning experience, and when we go back to regular education, to our regular day-to-day, that we don't go back to what we were. We take that experience and come back stronger and take what we've learned and modify to make it better. But it's called the Distance Learning Playbook, which can kind of be misleading because it's not all about distance learning. It's about having engaging and motivating opportunities for kids no matter where they are. And they've got some great lesson planning templates, which when I see a template, sometimes I'm like, no, I do not need this. I know how to lesson plan already. I've been doing this for years, decades now. But this one is really good because it really focuses on things that we don't necessarily think about when we're lesson planning, like the feedback cycle and small groups. And one of the authors is John Hattie, who's one of my favorites and has done tons of research on what really works in education. He has the scale of, and Stacy may have shared this with you guys because she loves John Hattie too, but he has all the things that we do in education and how it affects learning. Or does it have a positive effect or does it have a negative effect? And he uses the Distance Learning Playbook and shares that, and shares those things with distance learning too, which is really neat. I'm going to share this tab. This is Hattie's scale right here, and it has everything that we do in education: mentoring, Humor. It only has a 0.4. I thought it would be better. But look at the top. The top is collective teacher efficacy. Things that you can do that have a huge impact on education. Look at where effort is. Mnemonics, concept mapping. But it's one of my favorite tools to just kind of say, okay, where does this fall? And there are things that give a negative effect. Lack of sleep. Television gives a negative effect. Parental military deployment. Family welfare. All sorts of things. So Hattie is one of the authors of the book. They just really good stuff. Fact versus fiction. I like to share that. That's by Jennifer Lagarde, who used to be she was a media coordinator in New Hanover County Schools. She's become so famous that she's moved to Washington State, and she works on her own now and goes and speaks all over the world and writes books. She's very good at book recommendations. She's so good at that. So she's also, if you follow on Twitter, the Library Girl. And she has a great blog, The Library Girl. And she's just so smart. I love being in the room with her and learning from her. But this book, written with Darren Hudgens, is called Facts versus Fiction. And it's helping us teach students how to sift through all of the things that they're exposed to and help them decide on their own what is fact and what is fiction. And in today's society, that is more important than it's ever been because there is a lot of noise and a lot going on. So making your assignments and the things that you do in your classroom more relevant is also going to make it more motivating and engaging. That's where we would play a game, but that's out. So for those of you who would like to try Nearpod, I was able to get a free 3-month trial of the Gold. And so this code right here, NP-Gold3M, that will give you a 3 months Gold subscription to try that out. I wouldn't sign up for it now. I would wait till school starts. But it's awesome. I do apologize that it didn't quite go the way I planned today, but thank God we had a little backup plan. So this is the portion where you're going to scan your code. Do we have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? Anything? I've covered a lot. Okay. So I'm going to uncover the QR code, and this is where you're going to scan.
Yep. Got it.
And that's going to let you register your attendance. And then this right here is the short feedback survey. If you could fill that out, I would love some feedback on what I had to share with you today. Again, I apologize about the Nearpod flub. I'll get that fixed for the next one. But I would love to hear if this content was helpful to you, what you would like to hear more of, all of the things. Yes, I can put the feedback, the QR code back up. Let's see. Okay, and this is the feedback form. And if you would like the Nearpod version with the actual going to the beach and the game at the end, join me tomorrow or have a friend join me tomorrow. I'll be presenting this at 8 o'clock in the morning. I might have some coffee. I've given up coffee during the weekdays because I had too much of a hold on my life. I might have some, so I'll be sharp for you guys tomorrow. Also at 12:30, this is geared towards more administrators, but I'll be doing a hexagonal thinking session with administrators at 12:30, and that is going to be that's a protocol that I'm going to put their content in for administrators. And then at 3:30 tomorrow, I will be doing a session called Administrators Are Communicators, but don't let that fool you. I did that because they said we need some stuff for administrators. And can you do your motivation stuff too? I was like, yes. So when I crafted my stuff, I tended to lean it towards administrators, but this one about communication, it can really go for anybody.
So you said the one at 12:30?
That's the hexagonal thinking.
Oh yeah.
The administrators or communicators is going to be, it's really for anybody.
Yeah. The 12:30 one is the one I'm doing. So.
Oh, the heck. Okay. Amy, on that one, we're doing we're going to look at like administrators standards and their school improvement plan stuff. So you may want to do that one, or you may want to find something else. I don't want you to get stuck in there and go.
Well, I had gone to sign up for something else. What was it? Oh, that was one today, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I had tried to sign up for one other one that you were doing earlier